And welcome back to the morning show, 7:25. It's Wednesday. It means it's time for our second installment of the Wise Guy segment. Our Wise Guy, Matt Sellon, is back and talking about the moon, phases of the moon, tides, things of that nature. And last time you gave us a challenge to make the moon phases with Oreos.
Right.
And the girls were all over that one.
Oh, it's funny. They love those Oreos.
It's good.
And so here's the result of that whole thing. And so here we've actually done it. So sort of from left to right here, these are the phases of the moon. So you start with a new moon, that's what the dark one is, and then you wait a day or two, and then you have this crescent moon where it's getting bigger and bigger. It's called the waxing crescent. Then you have a half a moon, and then it's waxing means it's getting bigger. Gibbous is what they call this one that's kind of bulging, and then it's full, then it's waning, gibbous, half, and crescent, and then you're back to the new moon again. Okay. So it always kind of, as you're looking night by night, it kind of goes from right to left. So it starts being light or lit up on the right side of the moon, then it sort of spreads across, and then it vanishes on the left side of the moon, and then you're back to having a new moon again.
Very cool. That's a good experiment maybe for younger kids out there.
And it's delicious, and it's a great excuse to do science with cookies. I mean, how can you go wrong with that?
No kidding.
So I also wanted to talk about tides, because tides are interesting, and it's another thing that people don't quite understand. You know it has something to do with the moon, and the first part of it is kind of fairly obvious. Now that there's a force between the moon and the Earth due to gravity. So they pull on each other. So the Earth pulls on the moon. That's what keeps the moon going around the Earth. But the moon also pulls on the Earth. That's Newton's third law. There's always two forces. There's never just one force by itself. So they come in pairs. And so the force between two objects due to gravity depends on the distance squared. The farther apart, the weaker the force. And so the side that's facing the moon is a little closer to the moon than the center of the Earth.
Sure.
Okay. So over here, the force of gravity is a little bit bigger than it is in the middle, as the moon is pulling on the Earth. So this side bulges out just a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. Now the radius of the Earth is 6.5 or so million meters. The amount of bulging is only a couple of meters, okay, so with the water, and so it's a very, very small effect. But of course, if you're sitting in a boat and those couple of meters of water come in, and maybe, you know, in some places, because of the way that the bays are located and stuff, you get very large tidal swings. You get a big effect due to this. Now, you would think then that as the Earth turns around every 24 hours, you would see one high tide and one low tide, but actually you see two.
Okay.
Okay, and that has to do with the following thing. Not only is the moon just pulling on the Earth, that's causing the Earth to accelerate. Okay, because they rotate about their center of mass, which is not the center of the Earth. And so I'm going to show you how acceleration...
Got about 30, 40 seconds.
Okay, so here's the Earth. Suppose it's accelerating. Notice how when it's accelerating, the back part kind of gets left behind, and there's a bulge there too. So as the moon goes around the Earth, there's a second bulge on the other side where the gravity isn't strong enough to keep it all kind of up to speed with the rest of it, and it bulges out backwards. So there's actually two high tides and two low tides.
Just kind of opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, and in sometimes you have even higher and lower tides because the sun itself causes tides, and if the sun and the moon are lined up, you get even bigger tides than you normally would.
Very cool. Good information. And you made a water balloon too.
Oh, I made a water balloon, and so
water balloon and Oreos.
Can we throw it?
I'll show you which one Andale's car is in the commercial.
Okay. All
right, Matt Sellon, thank you very much for being here. We appreciate your time. And if you'd like to see a rebroadcast of this, you missed any of that, or you want to know how to make the Oreo moon, you can go to Matt's website, wiseguy.net, as he's chopping them down. Or if you have any questions for Matt, you can send us an email to themorningshow@wcia.com. We'll be back with more of the morning show right after this.